One of the most memorable side characters in Chapter 5, without question, is Lily LOVEBRAIDS. On Reddit and X, you can find fan art, edits, and endless debates about her. A brand new character managing to build a fan base that large this quickly? Maybe it's because of that strangely endearing way she looks sometimes. Maybe it's the way she talks to Candy Cat's severed head like it's a real friend. Or maybe, once you understand the full story behind her, you no longer know whether you should hate her or feel sorry for her. Today, I'm going to tell that story in full. She is not a victim. She got what she deserved. But once you understand everything, you decide for yourself. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Let's get into it. Lily only makes her direct appearance in Chapter 5 of Poppy Playtime as a secondary antagonist. She was initially met with quite a bit of criticism from the community over her design in the gameplay trailer. But that reaction didn't last long. Once the game officially launched and her personality and role in the story were fully revealed, the conversation changed entirely. Many people assume Lily was first mentioned in the gameplay trailer. But actually, Lily LOVEBRAIDS had already been referenced roughly 2 years earlier, in the Orientation Notebook released in 2024. We'll get to that detail shortly. She's one of those rare cases where a side character becomes enormously beloved by the community, largely thanks to the outstanding voice performance of Nicole Tompkins. Nicole has worked as both an actress and voice actress across a number of high-profile projects, including Daniela Dimitrescu, and of course, her most iconic role, Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 3 Remake. Unlike most toys that came out of the Playtime factory, Lily LOVEBRAIDS is certainly a strange specimen. Her existence wasn't designed to create a profitable toy. She was simply one of the many experiments Playtime Co. had been producing. But to understand Lily LOVEBRAIDS, we can't just look at the experiment itself. We need to understand the full context behind it. From March through August of 1995, scientists at the Playtime facility were researching and developing a new experiment that we would later come to know as Lily LOVEBRAIDS. Many people assume Lily's development began in the lab in August, but it actually started earlier than that. The Orientation Notebook was an internal document distributed to new Playtime employees as an introduction to the company. But an employee named Preston Willard received a copy and began adding his own handwritten notes, documenting things the company was deliberately trying to keep hidden. In a 1995 employee calendar recorded inside the notebook, we can see that on March 6th, there was a scheduled experiment for experiment 1467. The number was crossed out, and Preston added a note next to it, "Never remember these numbers." And Lily is experiment 1468, right after that. Now the question is, why do I believe this actually refers to Lily? The answer comes down to this man himself. Preston admitted that he had trouble keeping track of experiment numbers on that same page, which means the number 1467 was crossed out because it was written by mistake. It's very likely that around this time, senior Playtime staff had already been looking to create an experiment with an unprecedented ability, specifically using strands of hair as functioning limbs, and then applying that technology to their own toy line. To achieve this, they concluded that the experiment's hair would not be real hair at all, but strands filled with bone, flesh, and nerve tissue. This would provide enough strength to support a body standing nearly 5 feet 7 inches tall, while still being able to move freely without snapping under its own weight. Around this same time, Playtime Co. also began constructing a new underground area called Sweet Street. The preliminary tests for this new experiment were scheduled to be completed by August 6, 1995, and the subject chosen for the experiment, as usual, was a child from Playcare. However, all of this was taking place just 2 days before the infamous massacre of August 8th of that same year, known as the Hour of Joy. And so this long-awaited experiment was never carried out, or at the very least, was left unfinished. To better understand Lily's behavior, we have to analyze the person inside her. Unlike other experiments, Lily was not created from a child at Playcare, but from an adult, Dr. Gracie Green. Gracie Green began working at Playtime Co. in 1990, alongside well-known scientists such as Preston Willard, Jessica Newman, and Harley Sawyer. Her title was Lead Counselor of the Wellness and Integration Department, which sounds harmless enough, but the actual work was anything but. Gracie was responsible for reconditioning and reprogramming the newly converted experiments, wiping away every memory of their human lives and making them believe they had always been toys, never people. The process involved physical and psychological torture, electroshock therapy, forced sleep deprivation, and of course, the tapes. Gracie was the only face that appeared in all of it. Her voice was the first thing the experiments heard when they opened their eyes in their new bodies, and she was the one who showed up every time they were dragged back into the reconditioning room. Chum was also used as part of this process. His role was to mentally prepare the children before they went into surgery. For particularly sensitive cases, Gracie would place them inside Chum's belly, calling it a safe zone, warm and quiet like being held by a mother, to ease their anxiety. Gracie was also the one who created the bad toy box, a grinding machine, and she constantly referenced it as a threat to any experiment that refused to comply. Huggy was once forced to put non-cooperative experiments inside it himself, and even when an experiment was no longer usable, it still had value as raw material for extracting poppy gel. In the conditioning observations document, a scientist recorded the entire conditioning process on experiment 1268. Midnight. Observation begins. Subject is panicked and unfocused. 1:24 a.m. Subject begins screaming a name that cannot be made out. The scientist attributes this to the process of grafting bone, muscle, and fabric together. 8:46 a.m. After 7 straight hours of tape exposure, subject has gone silent and is less responsive. 12:32 p.m. Subject is singing and tapping along to the rhythm, repeating, "Joy. I live with it. I feel it. I am it." 2 p.m. Final note. Conditioning complete. Just imagining being put through that for a single hour is enough to make your skin crawl. But the children at Playcare went through it for weeks, months, years, until they truly forgot who they were. August 8th, 1995. The experiments rose up. The entire factory became a slaughterhouse. Employees were hunted floor by floor. Unlike most of her colleagues, Gracie was not killed immediately. Something far worse was waiting for her. She initially fled to her recording studio, locked the door, and radioed a security guard named Todd.
They literally took him apart, Todd.
Just sit. Security forces will get you. God damn. Mass casualties in the game station.
Don't tell me to sit, Todd. These little monsters are trying to kick down my door.
Open the door, Miss Gracie. We just want to play.
Yeah! The friends are all here! Let's spread some joy all over that room! You hear them?
Come be the joy the world needs.
Another breach on 4. 40 meters. Closing.
Todd?
Oh, they're in the damn room. How are there so many of them?
Todd? Todd! Get back! Get back! Mama, I was just trying to make you all happy. I wasn't. Please, don't hurt me!
We're not gonna hurt you, Miss Gracie. We have something very special planned for you.
That was exactly the language Gracie had taught them. The right tone, the right phrasing, the exact saccharine sweetness she had drilled into their heads for 5 years. Hobby Hopscotch, Kickin' Chicken, and finally Baba Chops caught her and handed her over to the prototype. The prototype took Gracie from the experiments, looked at her, and decided killing her would be too easy. He pulled out the blueprints for experiment 1468 and applied the exact same brutal methods that Gracie and the other scientists had once used to transform the children. Physical and psychological torture, electroshock therapy, forced sleep deprivation, and of course, extended conditioning. Then he pressed play. Gracie's own tapes, her own voice, the brainwashing scripts she had written with her own hands. The person who built the system being erased by that very system. Gracie held on for 122 days, the longest of anyone in the entire series. Not a single experiment before her, not Huggy, not Catnap, had lasted that long. 14 hours for a child, 122 days for the person who designed the process. Every day, Lily gained a little more ground. Gracie faded a little further. And then the prototype brought Lily to Sweet Street, designed to look like a children's neighborhood, a playground, a dollhouse, streets splashed with color. Every time Lily encountered another experiment, they fled in terror. Lily couldn't understand why. She had tried. She had been a good toy. She had done everything the tapes told her to. Why didn't anyone love her? There, Lily was kept for years, desperately trying to earn the prototype's trust and approval, developing a kind of devotion where she was always searching for his validation. And she would eventually get her chance, thanks to the player's arrival. We'll come back to that detail in a moment. During those years of isolation, Lily began keeping a diary. We can find one entry titled Silly Lily, writing about dances only she knew, about melodies no one ever heard, about wanting to share her joy with someone, anyone, about the loneliness, and about finding a skeleton inside what looked like a trash pit, bringing it home, laying it in a bed, brushing its hair every single day, dressing it in nice clothes, leaving it flowers. And the lines that follow, those are what prove that from the moment Lily brought that skeleton back to her room, she already sensed, somewhere deep down, that it was Gracie. When she discovered someone had entered the room, she comforted the skeleton. No one's going to hurt you anymore. Maybe she didn't know that Gracie had been tortured. The conditioning had erased Gracie entirely from her mind. But somewhere underneath all of it, she still felt something. A faint, wordless grief for what had been done to her. This is the most uncomfortable part. The prototype. The one who turned her into a toy, brainwashed her, and locked her away in isolation for 10 years. Lily worshipped him. She did everything to get his attention, to earn a single word of praise, to be allowed into the better place, something she didn't even understand, only knowing that good toys got to go there. Then her chance came when the player arrived. Lily captured all three, the player, Poppy, and Kissy, and bound them to prepare a perfect tea party with a very special guest of honor, the prototype himself. This was the moment she had been waiting years for. She finally had something to offer. He would finally see her. The prototype arrived, but he didn't look at Lily. A confrontation broke out. Poppy demanded answers about what had happened to the orphans. He told her they were in a better place, then crushed Poppy's face in his grip. Lily snapped, not out of anger at the prototype, but out of jealousy. She moved to attack Poppy with her hair. The prototype stopped her and struck her down. Kissy broke free from Lily's braids, attacked the prototype, and escaped with Poppy. 10 years of being a good toy, 10 years of waiting, and he still didn't see her. The very thing she needed, the prototype gave that to Poppy instead. Someone who had spent every chapter trying to destroy the factory, working against everything he stood for, while for Lily, it was the one wish she had built her entire existence around. The tea party falls apart, the prototype leaves, Kissy and Poppy escape, and Lily, the one who had been waiting for this moment for 10 years, watches everything shatter right in front of her. She turns to the player and gives chase. Throughout the entire chase, Lily doesn't stay silent. She screams, not out of anger, but out of desperation. She doesn't know what the better place is, doesn't know where it is. She only knows that good toys get to go there, and she had been trying to be good for 10 years. The tea party was everything she had, her one chance, and we destroyed it. The player climbs up to the rooftop, jumping onto the fake clouds hanging from the ceiling of Sweet Street, cutting the cables holding them up just as Lily climbs on. Lily loses her footing, desperately trying to hold on, and her own braids, the very weapon the prototype designed for her, sever the final cable. She falls. The clouds fall with her. But just after that, the player steps into the hallway next door. There's a cardboard cutout of Lily. They press the button. Did you know hair keeps growing even after you die? Mob Entertainment did not put that line there by accident. The question for Chapter 6 is not whether Lily will come back. It's which part of her comes back when she does. Lily or Gracie? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. I read every single one and I genuinely want to hear your take on this. See you in the next video.